Good afternoon, friends and followers of my YouTube channel, and to the members. Thank you very much for your continued support as we keep moving in a direction of transparency and non-bullshittery. Well, I've read many of your emails in the past, and I thought today I've got nothing to do at the minute, so this is the right time to do it. You're right. I do lots of podcasts. People invite me onto their own podcasts. They ask me questions about my service. I answer it. Some delve into it, some don't. And you asked me why I left the military. So here goes. I didn't want to leave the military. That is the overall answer. However, the first part of my military career, I'm going to say, wasn't rather adventurous. It was Northern Ireland tours, up Banner, South Armagh, East Tyrone, Belfast. But I was very lucky compared to previous soldiers that had served there, because my time serving there was peace. There was peace basically, and I was very lucky not to be involved in any gun battles or anything really that stressful in Northern Ireland. So I had an easy time in Northern Ireland compared to a lot of other soldiers. So I wasn't happy though, because I joined up to get involved in stuff and I wanted to do these gun battles and things. Yeah, I know it's stupid in hindsight, yes, but when you're a young lad at 18, 19, 20, it's what you want to do. We've all watched the war movies growing up, and it's something, yeah, I would love to get involved in that. So then I went and ended up in Iraq during the Gulf War as a session commander with B Company. And even that was very, very mundane and quiet. Didn't really get to do much there either. I was with Tim Collins as a colonel. We spent our whole time driving around the desert looking for a fight. Couldn't find one because everyone surrendered. So there we go. For me, it really kicked off in Optelic 7, my second deployment to Iraq. When I went to Baghdad, I got involved in a suicide bomber attack, and I got awarded the dreaded medal, didn't I? The Military Cross. Now, for those who don't know how Military Cross works, you do not get to write yourself up for anything. What happens is this: after an incident has taken place, a gun battle, and maybe someone's died, or maybe someone hasn't died, the sergeant major or the highest ranking officer there calls every single person in that was involved on that patrol, and they give a statement as what they seen, how many rounds I fired. So I did that. I went in, I gave my statement. Now, the boss doesn't look at my statement and go, look what Trev did. The boss looks at all the statements and then come up with a plan. Unfortunately, there was other guys there that day that did great work, but he decided to write me up. And thought nothing of it. I left Baghdad January 2006, actually. Yeah, January 2006. February, I was on leave. March, St. Patrick's Day, I was in Oman with 3-Power learning how to call in fast air, forward air controllers, and how to do attacks, and just practicing and honing our skills to deploy on our first ever operation in Afghanistan, 2006, Operic 4. That tour took its toll on me. My second in command died beside me. There was lots of battles, lots of incidents involving enemy, which I thrived upon. I happened to be so lucky to have a fantastic platoon sergeant, great platoon commander, and 2 other fantastic session commanders, Davey and Rob. And we had Ian, another good commander, who, if any of us got injured, Ian could step in and take over and do just as good a job, if not better. So we had a great team. Everyone knew their job. We had no passengers in our platoon. Everyone was professional, and it was remarkable. But it did take its toll mentally. Came back from that tour a little bit broken, actually. It was horrific, some of the things that came off the back of that tour. But I went on leave, 2007, did my platoon sergeant's battle course, and then I went back out to Afghanistan in 2008. But prior to going to Afghanistan in 2008, because I had this gallantry medal, I was told to go. I got selected by my commanding officer and the army to go out and to represent my unit and the British Army and go and visit George Bush in the White House for St. Patrick's Day. So that was good. After St. Patrick's Day, about 4 days later, it may have been, I can't remember, I was in Afghanistan with 2-Para as a platoon sergeant. And that, again, was a horrific tour. You know, I lost my radio operator. I had to pick up another soldier, a sergeant major from 2-Para that was killed on a battlefield. And I was becoming like an onion where the layers were all trauma and you couldn't, it was just difficult. It was just trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. But I was dealing with it because that's all I knew. That is all I knew. I started to develop OCD and different things, different symptoms to get myself through the day. And I never had a good night's sleep for years. My mind was constantly on the go, non-stop. And it played its toll on me, didn't it? I came back from Herrick 8 and broken. And in 2009, I wanted to transfer. Well, I wanted to transfer out. I asked to go and have it. I actually asked for a career break. Can I go to the army recruiting team, the regimental recruiting team, just for a break? You know, I've got my gallantry medal. I've done my junior, my senior. I've got everything done. And my commanding officer said, "No, you can't have a career break. We've got your career mapped out." And he offered me a colour sergeant post in that UPTAG. But the only problem was I had to fly out to Afghanistan the following week. And I was like, "Nah, you're okay, I don't want it." And he couldn't believe it. I turned it down. I turned down the colour sergeant post. And I didn't want it. I was offered a colour sergeant in 2009, turned it down. And because he wouldn't let me have a break, I went in to see the CEO on a Friday. And prior to that, I had been drinking heavily. I wasn't really leaving my room in the sergeant's mess. I was just drinking on my own. Didn't really want to socialise with anyone. I'd started to isolate myself away from people. But I was up every morning at 6, boots highly polished, uniform looking immaculate, and I was outside the block making sure my platoon were up, making sure the block jobs were done. I was making sure everything was squared, roll count, the lot. So I was still doing my job 100%, but I was masking the fact that my mental health was in the gutter. And I went and seen the CEO. He told me that I couldn't have a posting, and I transferred on the Friday because I had friends in different units. I transferred on the Friday, went and got a vehicle from the MT platoon, motor transport, packed it on a Friday and drove out of camp. When did I drive out of camp? I drove out of camp on Sunday morning. No one knew I was leaving. Didn't have a leaving do. Didn't have a presentation. Didn't have anything. Drove out on Sunday and drove to Colchester. And if I hadn't have left the Royal Irish when I was a senior sergeant with a gallantry medal who'd done all these different operations and who was at the time, believe it or not, highly thought of and highly regarded. If I hadn't have left when I left, the young lads would have seen me falling apart. They would have seen me with a drink problem. They would have seen me falling apart. And yeah, I probably would have ended up at stores anyway as a waste of space. So I left whenever I thought was the right time to leave. And I walked away. And I haven't regretted it. I'm still alive, aren't I? That's the one thing to take away from this. So I hope that puts your mind at rest. Those who keep sending me emails to talk about why I left. I left because I needed to leave. And I left behind some fantastic friends. I left behind a whole world that I'd known for about 20 years. Well, about 15 years with them, but not 15 years. And when I left, because I was so broken, I deleted Facebook at the time. I changed my phone and I had no contact with any person in battalion. I didn't want to speak to anyone. And I have continued that now for about 16 years. I only have 4 members of my previous unit in my phone that I still speak to, that I class and I hold extremely high. Great individuals. And that's my choice. Anyway, listen, thanks for listening. Hope that answers a lot of your questions. Anyway, stay safe, ladies and gentlemen, and have a wonderful evening.